It was unexpected for fans of Lionel Messi to see him posting a picture with Ed Sheeran after scoring his first goal for Paris Saint-Germain. He was equally surprised to catch the famous folk singer, when both stars were more famous than ever, but even more shocked was his superfan wife, Antonela Roccuzzo, who had sadly missed the encounter. After conversing with the international football star, Sheeran decided to make up for Antonela's loss. Going on a Stade de France tour, Sheeran invited her to see a show anytime and informed her that a vinyl was waiting for her.
Hola Anto, acá estoy con mi amigo Ed que te quiere decir algo.
So sorry not to meet you in Paris, but I'm going to be back playing Stade de France next summer. If you want to come, anytime you want to come to a show, feel free and I'll see you there. I've got a vinyl for you as well, but lots of love.
Tenemos un regalito. Avísame y voy. I will go with you too. I'm going to join you guys.
Meanwhile, Messi gave Sheeran a token of the meeting he remembered for years: a spot on the team as number 17. Despite his album titles, Ed Sheeran hates math. He also has a tattoo of Puss in Boots and has sponsored the Ipswich Town football team by branding their shirts with plus minus equals divide multiply. Had you seen Ed Sheeran as a shy high school kid singing at home, these traits wouldn't seem to make sense. Today, Ed Sheeran is one of the generation's wealthiest and most successful British musicians. His raw albums about life and love have inspired millions and brought him global fame and a few Grammys along the way. Like many famous singers, Sheeran started from humble beginnings, with only his guitar and the ambition to pour his soul out into his music. Fortunately, with some elbow grease, years of traveling, and the help of some more than famous friends, Ed Sheeran would come on top as the celebrated indie musician he has become today. Ed Sheeran is set apart for his bashful charisma and transparency in the industry. Though he writes every day, Sheeran doesn't draft superficial songs he thinks will sell well. Instead, he follows his heart and pours out his feelings onto the page. This charisma and truth in his songwriting likely stemmed from small beginnings as a scruffy, red-haired boy in the UK. Ed Sheeran was born to two artsy parents in Hebden Bridge, Halifax, but spent much of his life living in Suffolk, where he would grow attached to the culture, including their football team Ipswich Town. Since he was 4 years old, he found himself playing guitar, segueing into a pastime of singing in the church youth choir and learning to play the piano. Though he wasn't immediately a prodigy, his passion for the arts was evident. As a shy kid with messy red hair, Sheeran didn't find much luck fitting in at school, and surgery-induced stuttering didn't help. When Sheeran was young, doctors had spotted glaucoma on his left eye, which would be cancerous and cause blindness if it weren't taken care of. As a solution, young Sheeran would get laser surgery to cut it off. While the glaucoma was removed, Sheeran would be left with a lazy eye, and the anesthetic used in the surgery would cause him to stutter. Eventually, Sheeran would stop raising his hand in class and keep to himself. Speech therapy to help with his stutter wasn't doing him any good, and the mockery didn't peter out. Among a storm of turmoil, Sheeran found one critical source of release as a young boy: music. Sheeran's father was determined to help his son gain more confidence in his work after the surgery. He gave his son a CD of songs from Eminem, which immediately enamored him. By the time he was 10 years old, he could recite every word of every song from the album, and his stutter was gone. With a passion for music and songwriting, Sheeran was ready to put out some of his music and begin performing. By the time he was 16, Sheeran had found his calling and left school in favor of a life of music. Sheeran would be on the road for 10 years, performing in all sorts of niche locations in hopes that a few among the crowd would enjoy his work.
My music doesn't really hit everyone, otherwise I'd be a very lucky man.
In the States, Sheeran would be given a lot of help from popular artists that saw potential in his work. While Sheeran was still traveling, his music skills landed him a spot on Jamie Foxx's couch for 6 weeks. From age 16 onward, Sheeran was moving and performing with no sign of stopping. After his time in Britannia High, a fictional British performing show, he was booking a dozen shows every day in local pubs and train stations. Eventually, his success with a mic at local gatherings would allow him to continue writing music, with no place to live. 6 weeks before his fame kicked in, Sheeran was able to attend a radio show party hosted by Jamie Foxx. He came prepared, bringing a copy of his work and hoping to share it with the famous actor and singer. While the party was going on, Foxx decided to give the nervous musician a chance, and he loved it. Finding out that young Sheeran was sleeping on benches and in subways, Foxx welcomed him into his own home, a practice that was not unfamiliar to him. Foxx's youngest daughter, Annalise, likely rolled her eyes at the idea of her dad giving up the couch to yet another quiet musician. Very soon after, the potential he saw in Sheeran would be appreciated at a new showing, with Foxx leading him to a new venue in Los Angeles.
And it was just like a movie. I said, well, let's see what the kid has. And he went out there on that ukulele, got a standing ovation in 12 minutes.
Wow.
And the rest was history.
Later on in his career, Sheeran would be in league with the legendary Elton John, who claims that they both have a lot in common. Just Jack, a Los Angeles music agent, introduced Elton to the up-and-coming singer, who had just released his EP, You Need Me, in 2009. Sheeran performed the songs in a bar, and in a week, the album sold 7,000 copies. Signing contracts in 2010, Elton and Sheeran would officially collaborate from then on, with Elton providing advice to the young Sheeran and helping him with his newest album, Puss. Released in 2011, the album was a hit around the world, topping the charts in the UK and Australia while being the 5th most popular hit song in the US. Sheeran and Elton continue to have a friendly relationship even over a decade later. In fact, Elton John calls Ed Sheeran every single day. Sheeran considers him his closest friend in the music industry, and whenever he needs advice or just wants to talk music with someone, he can turn to Elton. While Sheeran flies solo when writing and performing, he continues to work with other big-name artists in the industry. He's written for Justin Bieber and One Direction, the latter of which would openly accept him as a member of the band, and he performed with Taylor Swift on her Red Tour. His networking has worked in favor of his projects as well. His music video for Galway Girl was shot with Saoirse Ronan, who was within the bubble of Sheeran's colleagues. Sheeran even has a tattoo to remember the event, written in Ronan's handwriting, but purposely misspelled. Lucky for him that Galway Girl will probably still be a hit 10 years from now. Due to his fame and notoriety, Sheeran makes numerous appearances in interviews and talk shows and isn't without his fair share of unique moments. It might be safe to say Sheeran's social life is flourishing. With some friends in 2015, Sheeran dived into the ocean on a yacht and blew out his eardrum. It was one of the most painful experiences he'd ever had, but a 2016 surgery stopped the agony of water pushing through the burst drum. Sheeran also once spent some time having measurements taken for a wax sculpture of himself. 2 hours in gray undergarments resulted in a near-identical version of the singer, complete with color-accurate tattoos, skin and hair, and even his lazy eye. Of course, an exact sculpt of him hasn't stopped Sheeran from getting a plethora of tattoos, one for each significant moment in his career. The largest of his collection is an enormous lion spanning the length of his entire chest.
A lot of people had a go at me for this. They were like, that seems like quite a stupid tattoo. But I played the biggest venue you can play in England and sold it out for 3 nights, which was Wembley Stadium.
That's huge.
And England's national emblem is a lion. So I want, and all my tattoos are things that I've done in my career, and they're all leading to the middle bit.
Simply put, Sheeran is equal parts talented and charismatic. Despite raking in vinyl sales, Sheeran isn't in the industry for the money. Instead, he simply writes what he feels and turns it into music. Sheeran's triumph in the music industry and international hits granted him enough money to settle down while serving others in need. Despite his nomadic tendencies as a teenager and while touring, which in fact still makes up a majority of his life, Sheeran owns an astounding 22 properties totaling tens of millions of dollars in value. Sheeran spends most of his time in Sheeranville, a cluster of homes in Notting Hill complete with the works. The $4 million Norfolk Village estate includes a pond, cherry orchard, bar, a gym, and an outdoor kitchen. To top it all off, Sheeran plans on adding a gravesite and a boat-shaped chapel, hopefully for christenings and more serene periods of reflection. Clearly, Notting Hill is large and homely enough to welcome guests from around the world, as long as they don't interfere with the ghosts.
I always thought the ghosts weren't real, and yeah, there's one that lives in a cottage on my land, and a lot of people have seen it.
Hopefully, no celebrities having a drink with Sheeran decide to open the trapdoor in one of the guest houses. Ghosts from the 14th century likely don't make good partiers. In addition to Sheeranville, the musician owns 4 homes in Framlingham, Suffolk, 3 of which are valued at over $1 million. In 2018, he purchased a $20 million home complete with a customized underground pub safe from rowdy trespassers. Lucky for Sheeran, he has more than friends to spend time within his beautiful estates. In November 2019, Sheeran married Cherry Seaborn, an old high school friend who had moved to America before he did. In May 2020, his daughter Lyra was born, though she's having trouble adjusting to his music. While finally having a place to call home, Sheeran strives to make a difference in the lives of other young musicians. By founding the Ed Sheeran Suffolk Music Foundation, he provides scholarships to children under 18 to purchase instruments or music lessons and make their dreams a reality. While being an artist in the field of music, Sheeran also draws and paints for good causes. Splatter paintings have been offered in raffles or auctions to raise tens of thousands of dollars for cancer charities. It took Ed Sheeran over a decade to go from local pub performer to millionaire musician. Starting at humble beginnings with just his shaky confidence and a guitar, Sheeran turned a talent into a long-lasting career, inspiring millions to do the same. Though propelled to greatness with a mixture of luck and talent, Sheeran's humility and emotion in both his songs and personality can be attributed as a major player in his success. By reaching out to others around him with faith in his work and continuous creation, Ed Sheeran has become a global icon with his soulful music, bright red messy hair, and capacity for kindness.